Hey guys, AnimCap here. Today I will continue recapping you the anime named Campfire Cooking in Another World. Make sure to check first part. Now let's start. The next day Mukouda starts getting ready, preparing to set off on his mission, but Fel glares at him, demanding that it's time for breakfast. The two make it to the fields, but Fel says he is still hungry. There wasn't enough ingredients, so Mukouda tells him he should go hunting again. Fel agrees, but worries about Mukouda's safety if he is not around, saying he can feel that there are monsters around. Fel tells him not to worry, casting a protective barrier on him. He dashes off, telling Mukouda to have lunch prepared for him. Mukouda starts his quest searching for his herds, but it's an easy task for him because he can use his appraisal skill on the field to easily find the right. He is able to easily complete the mission and even wonders if he will get a bigger reward for collecting more than the requested amount. With his mission complete, he decides to start making lunch. Since he is out of meat, he decides to make a cheap meal he can buy from his shop, which turns out to be spaghetti. As he is preparing the meal, Fel returns with a rock bird, saying he enjoyed the teriyaki from the other day. He says he hunted other monsters as well, but couldn't bring them all at once, but Mukouda tells him they can pick it up later. Mukouda finishes off preparing the spaghetti, but remembers the final ingredient, picking up some Parmesan cheese. Fel finds the spaghetti to be strange, but Mukouda explains it is food from his own world. When Fel tries it, he is pleasantly surprised, enjoying it even though there isn't as much meat. Mukouda tells him to try out the cheese powder, and Fel is amazed and ends up making a mess, getting the sauce all over himself. As Mukouda laughs at the sight, he is suddenly shocked when he sees the mountain of monsters that Fel haunted. There are all kinds of monsters, and Mukouda starts stuffing them into his storage. He wonders if everything is eatable when he recognizes an orc, but Fel tells him that orcs are considered delicacies, essentially just treating them as walking pigs. With all the monsters stored up, it's time to head back to the town. Fel tells Mukouda he can ride on him, saying it's too slow to just walk. Mukouda is surprised to hear this and gets onto him. They take off, and Mukouda starts panicking when they go too fast, struggling to hold on. They make it back, and Mukouda is glad he is still in one piece. He wonders what if he had fallen off, but Fel says that would be his own fault, so Mukouda reminds him that if anything happened to him, he wouldn't be able to eat his food anymore. Mukouda heads to the Adventurers Guild and hands herds. The girl is surprised he has so many, saying he must have gotten lucky, and pays him 9 silver for the herds. Mukouda then asks about selling monsters, surprising the girl, but he points over to Fel, and the girl is stunned to see him. She quickly regains her composure and points him out over to the guild butcher. Mukouda pulls out an orc, and the man worries about space, so they head out to the back. The butcher tells Mukouda he has heard about him from the rumors around town. Mukouda pulls out the mountain of monsters, shocking the man with the amount, and that there are also some A-ranked monsters. Mukouda asks him to skin all the monsters, saying he will sell all the materials except for the meat. With so many monsters, the butcher tells him to come back the next day. Mukouda asks him to skin one of the monsters so they can have something for dinner, so the man prepares one of the orcs for him. Mukouda starts preparing dinner, and we learn his storage skill can keep his food from spoiling. He cuts up the orc meat, coating it with flour, and fries it up. He finishes it off with some leftover sauce from that lunch. Fel devours the food, saying that orc meat is much more tender than regular boar meat. Mukouda is turned off by the image of the orc, but when he tastes it, he is pleasantly surprised, learning not to judge things before trying them out. The next morning, Mukouda heads back to the butcher. There is a mountain of meat, and the man hands him his gold for all the materials. He is paid 202 gold, and Mukouda is shocked at the amount of money. The man tells him he can't be so clueless, teaching him about the value of certain materials like orc testicles, which are good for strength, and boar tusks that can be used for crafting. The man also hands in some demonic stones that contain magic powers and are dropped from the A-ranked monsters. The man tells him that people around town have been talking about him, debating about whether Fel is really a Fenrir or just a great wolf. As Mukouda walks through town, he can hear the people debating. He thinks it's time that they left and tells Fel they shouldn't stay in the same place for too long. Fel says he doesn't mind, but says he is hungry again. The two make their way out of the town and find a place to set up camp. As Mukouda goes to prepare dinner, he decides to treat Fel to a feast since he made him so much money. He pulls up his shop, showing Fel all the meats from his world, and he suddenly thinks it's raining, but it's really just Fel drooling, overseeing the options. Mukouda orders a bunch of food and creates a platter of mixed meat from his world. Fel is amazed by the different textures and flavors, having never eaten such foods, before Mukouda follows up with the main dish, cooking up some Japanese black wagyu. But Fel is disappointed by its small size.
That's that's pretty average. I don't know what that's normal size.
However, when he tastes it, he is instantly blown away, and Mukouda tells him it's from a cow that was specially raised. Fel is surprised that people in his world raise their food, since monsters just appear in this world, but he can't argue with the results. Meanwhile, in the town, we see the two guild clerks chatting about Mukouda. The merchant girl thinks the other must have a thing for Mukouda, but she really just has a thing for Fel. After their feast, Fel is energized, saying he could even beat up a dragon. Mukouda gets worried hearing this and uses his appraisal skill on him. He is shocked to see that Fel has a massive boost to all of his stats. With all his energy, Fel decides to go hunting, but Mukouda worries about being left alone. Fel casts his barrier on him, and telling him it would be enough to even stop a dragon's breath. Fel runs off and Mukouda is left behind, and trusting in Fel's barrier, Fel goes on a rampage through the forest, taking out a rock bird with a single slash, using lightning magic to destroy a giant deer, wiping out a pack of orcs with his magic, and even when an orc general approaches, it is no match for him. There's a chimera beast that appears, but Fel unleashes a devastating lightning attack against it, causing a huge explosion. In the morning, Mukouda can't believe himself when he finds 3 mountains of monsters all around him. Fel agrees that he might have gone a little overboard, but he boasts about taking the chimera with a single attack when he normally would have had trouble against it. Seeing the effects of the black wagyu, Mukouda has no choice but to ban it from his menu. As they have a break for lunch, Mukouda wonders if Fel uses magic when haunting monsters. Fel reveals he is particularly good with wind magic, having been blessed by the wind goddess. Mukouda is amazed to see magic for the first time and wonders if it's possible for him to use magic as well. Fel tells him it should be possible if he has magic power, so he checks his stats and finds that he should be able to use magic. He asks Fel for instruction, but Fel just tells him that he needs to just think about it. Mukouda thinks this means imagining it and tries using a fireball, but nothing happens and he becomes embarrassed. Fel shows him how mana flows within his body, and after a while he manages to shoot a fireball. Although it's super weak, Fel comments on his training method, suggesting he should get experience from fighting monsters. Mukouda is worried about getting hurt, but Fel gets annoyed and carries him off. They end up finding some goblins, but there is a whole village of them. Mukouda worries there are too many, but seeing that he is a coward, Fel howls and draws the attention of all the goblins. They start getting chased, and Fel tells him he now has no choice but to fight. He leads to find the goblin boss, and Mukouda is left alone. Mukouda attacks using his fireball, but as he tries to run, he trips over. As a goblin jumps at him, he is actually protected by Fel's barrier. He keeps throwing his fireballs and eventually throws one that is quite powerful. He collapses after using all his mana, but Fel reappears to finish things up. When he wakes up, he has trauma from the experience, but Fel says he should thank him for helping him use magic and even sense that he has leveled up. When Mukouda checks, he finds he has even gained the fire magic skill. As a congratulations, Fel has brought the Goblin King. Although it's not edible, he brought it back because it contains a magic stone. Seeing his magic stones can be traded for a lot of money, Fel thinks he should be rewarded with another feast again, but Mukouda refuses the request. Mukouda is dizzy from the lack of mana, so he decides to just buy some food instead of cooking. It's an assortment of sweet breads, but Fel wants to have meat instead. Mukouda insists that he is too exhausted, so Fel sells for the bread. Despite not being meat, he finds it to be good and even asks for more. Mukouda tells him if he eats too many sweets he could get diabetes, but Fel tells him that is impossible. Since he is blessed by the wind goddess, he is immune to any sickness and other ailments. Fel gloats about being blessed, and Mukouda thinks it's not fair since he is already so strong. Mukouda begs to be blessed as well, and we see that the goddess seems to be watching. There is a commotion at the next town when Mukouda approaches with Fel. He quickly shows off his guild card, saying that Fel is his great wolf familiar. When Fel tries to correct them, Mukouda goes along with calling him a great wolf so they attract less attention. Fel suddenly talks telepathically to him, annoyed at being called a great wolf. The guard warns him that he will be held responsible for problems that Fel causes. When they get inside the town, Mukouda suggests they need to find a map so they can know where they are going. He leaves Fel behind outside the inn and heads to a bookstore. He finds a book that explains magic, but when he asks for the price, he is told to cost 7 gold. He is shocked at the price, but the man tells him it's a rare book, and Mukouda thinks that paper must be valuable in the world. Tries the library next, but after hours he still has no luck trying to find a map. When he gets back to Fel is annoyed he is late, saying he is starving, so Mukouda quickly buys some food from his shop. Fel is blown away by the fried pork, but when Mukouda makes his own dinner, Fel can't help himself and demands to have some of it as well. The next day, Mukouda visits a tavern. There are a bunch of rowdy adventurers, and Mukouda approaches a group to ask questions. He orders a round of drinks for the table, and they happily talk to him. They tell him about the different kingdoms, and when he mentions that he doesn't have a map, the men reveal that they have a map that was passed down by an older adventurer. They show it to him and say that since they have already memorized it, they offer to sell it to him for 1 gold. Mukouda agrees to buying it, and they part ways. After the men have left, the other adventurers laugh at him, revealing that he got scammed because the map is just a common item that can be bought for 1 silver at the guild. Fel comforts him, saying they will make more money, and Mukouda decides to head east to the country next to the sea, but Fel is more interested in the seafood they'll get to eat.
And that's the end of this video. Write in the comments should I continue recapping this anime. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Your support pushes me to make more videos.